A lot of 12s have been clamoring for the re-signing of safety Jamal Adams, one of the best safeties in all of football. And while the Seahawks did give up 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and a starting safety in Bradley McDougald for one of the best safeties in all of football, and Jamal Adams, well, one would think that the Seahawks would have signed Jamal Adams to an extension by now, but if you've been paying attention to what the Seahawks usually do in the offseason, well, that's just not how they do business. You might be asking yourselves, well, didn't they just give Tyler Lockett and Gabe Jackson extensions in the value of around $95 million just a couple of weeks ago? Well, yes, but they did that because they needed to create the necessary cap space to make some of the other moves that they made in free agency. That's right. In today's installment, we're going to talk about why Seahawks fans have nothing to worry about Jamal Adams' contract extension. But before that, Josiah, what's up? Roll the clip.
Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah, here comes the, no.
Before we get into that, if you haven't already, and if you're new to this channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button for us. Show a brother some love. Join the family. Join the team. Don't forget to also leave us a like, drop a comment if you enjoyed, and find us on all social media platforms at SteezySmith for the latest content in the world of sports. Without further ado, you're tuning in to Steezy Smith, and let's get to cooking. So, at this point in the offseason, there have been a lot of 12s saying, oh, is Jamal Adams coming back? We gave up so much to get him. Why haven't we signed him to a contract extension? Well, keep this in mind. The NFL draft has yet to occur, and in the past 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons, whenever Seattle typically hands out contract extensions, it's usually towards training camp and well after the draft. And now Jamal Adams remains unsigned beyond the upcoming season. Well, there are reasons for optimism in regards to his contract extension. While we haven't heard anything from his side of things, from his camp, as far as a new contract, well, Seahawks are usually pretty quiet when it comes to handling their business, and they usually do a phenomenal job of being able to keep everything in the organization and to keep things from leaking. And so when those Russell Wilson trade rumors occurred earlier this offseason, well, that was very uncharacteristic of the franchise. But with Jamal Adams, I just don't see how a team like the Seahawks could give up 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and a starting safety to acquire his services without the thought of giving them a contract extension. And yes, Jamal Adams has classified himself as a defensive weapon and not just a safety. And when looking at the safety market, well, Justin Simmons of the Denver Broncos recently set the record for highest paid safeties in the game with a $15.1 million average annual value. Now, Jamal Adams is likely to obliterate that by at least $3 to $4 million, and I think a good starting point for the Seahawks would be around $17 to $18 million. And if we were looking at the top 10 highest paid defensive players in all the NFL, well, Jamal Adams would probably want to find himself in the top 10. And if he wants to find himself in the top 10, well, that would begin with an average annual value of at least $18.5 to $19 million. And while the Seahawks have given out a lot of money during this offseason, and there are extensions to be had for both DK Metcalf, Quandre Diggs, and maybe even Dwayne Brown in the potential future, that's not to say that there isn't any room for Jamal Adams. And so once again, to all the Seahawks fans out there, if training camp rolls around and Jamal is still yet to be unsigned, or at least re-signed to a contract extension, then fans should definitely start to worry. But until then, there's nothing to worry about. The draft is next Thursday, and yes, the Seahawks only had 3 picks, but let's just look at Jamal as the Seahawks' first-round pick for this season. While he has shown signs of being injury prone, he did miss 4 games last year. Let's not forget, he set the NFL record for a defensive back by most sacks in a season with 9.5. Who knows how many sacks he would have had if he would have played a full 16-game season. And so I'm definitely of the mindset, I'm definitely of the notion that Jamal Adams shouldn't just be paid like a safety, shouldn't just be paid like a defensive back, but as a defensive weapon altogether. As it stands today, Jamal Adams is currently the 13th highest paid safety in the NFL with a cap hit of $9.861 million. And believe it or not, an extension would actually be ideal for the Seahawks, as they would save money by extending Jamal Adams this offseason. So it's really a win-win for both sides. The Seahawks get to keep and lock up one of the best safeties in football for the long run, and the Seahawks also get to save cap space. Going back to my point from earlier, well, when you look at recent extensions for Cam Chancellor, Dwayne Brown, Bobby Wagner, and with the exception of Russell Wilson 2 off seasons ago when he was made the NFL's highest paid player, well, all those extensions took place either early in training camp or well after the draft. And so there is precedent as to what the Seahawks will do. Seattle will be able to make the numbers work, as they've been using their proverbial credit card all offseason long, and I have no doubt in my mind that they'd be able to do the same, just as they were able to do for Tyler Lockett and Gabe Jackson earlier this offseason. With all that being said, do you guys think that Jamal Adams will sign an extension with the Seahawks come training camp, or do you think it'll come before? And if so, what do you think the figures are going to be? Once again, if you're new to this channel, and if you're watching this video, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button for us. Join the family, join the team, leave us a like, drop a comment if you feel like it. And while that concludes this video, you don't have to stop watching there. Plenty of other content coming your way. Find us on all social medias. Nothing but love, and Steezy out.